So this first file is called Unlocking Academic English, right?
Yeah.
And it's broken up into chapters. The introduction kind of tells you a little bit about
Mm.
what this
Yeah.
document is all about. So it says it's divided into four sections. On
Mm.
page 2, you'll find 10 study tips for learning vocabulary. And then we
Mm.
will be looking at the academic word list, which is a compilation of high frequency words that are essential for academic writing and reading. So if we go down here, notice on this side here, the academic word list.
Mm.
If we take account for all of the words that exist in the English language, right?
Yeah.
Maybe academic words account for close to maybe close to 15%, right?
Yeah.
10 to 15%.
Mm.
The GSL is another word list. The GSL is the general service list. This diagram here shows us that, I think we talked about this, right? How Old English um, is largely of German origin. Did we talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the like more than 50% is a combination of Latin and French, and most of French is Latin. And then we have some words that are Greek, and then some words adopted from other languages, and then other words that we just don't know where they came from, right? According to this
Yeah.
diagram given here. Well, this diagram here says that um, this academic word list
Mm.
uh, mm, makes up maybe 20%, sorry, 10 to 15% of all the words used in English, right? The GSL would contain words like the,
Mm.
all the prepositions in, on, at, right?
Yeah.
And words that just belong to general uh, conversational use. So, an academic word list is this: there are 570 words
Alphabet.
alphabetically, right?
Yeah.
And if we zoom into it, what's this word here?
Abandon.
Okay. What kind of a word is that?
Uh,
That's a
it's a
verb.
verb.
Yeah, very good. Meaning to lose or to give
Yeah.
up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we don't have to go through all of these words, but
Mm.
these words were pulled out of this list. Is maybe let's go back to the okay. So these are all the words, right? And it
Yeah.
says these are head words sorted alphabetically.
Mm.
The head word basically means we have head words and definitions grouped by word class. How the words are used,
Mm.
because let's say abandon, right?
Yeah.
That first word on the alphabetical list. So abandon is the first letter, is the first word in this alphabetical list, right? Abandon the verb is like the base form,
Yeah. Oh.
and then you can add suffixes to it, like abandoned or
Yeah.
abandonment or abandoning, right?
Yeah.
So um, abandon, yeah, there's about four different kinds of derivatives that I can see in this dictionary. When we type abandon into the dictionary, we get one, two, three, four. This is a modern word. It doesn't really count. And this, I guess, is again, it's like not exactly, that's not part of the English dictionary. So really, we just
Mm.
have one, two, three derivatives.
Yeah.
And I guess we could say abandoning. So if we want to check the derivatives, we can go down to the sublist, or we can just type up here abandon.
Mm.
And here we get the definition. Here we get it in the
Mm.
alphabetical list. And here we get it with the derivatives. Okay.
Mm.
And
Okay.
I'm not sure why there's an S at the end of that one. That's weird. Abandons. I did not put that there. I took this from this list is a
Mm.
very important list.
Yeah.
Um, it comes from this website here, and it's sort of a source text used that has been used for IELTS for a long time.
Mm.
So um, this school here, as you can see, it's the School of Linguistics and Applied Language Studies, right?
Yeah.
So do you know what linguistics is?
Yeah.
What's
Linguistics.
Okay, great. Yeah, linguistics is the scientific study of language, right?
Yeah.
And so the same the same way of looking at the rules of the Chinese language can be, the same methodology can be applied to learning another language like English or
Mm.
another language like French, Spanish, German, Japanese, Russian, or whatever, right? We try
Yeah.
to identify well, I don't want to go into too much I don't want to go into like a long tangent about how language should be scientifically studied. But let's say um, um, you could you could linguists collect data like a scientist would collect data, right?
Yeah.
So a scientist studying weather and trying to make predictions and hypotheses about what's happening with the weather would look at all of the different weather measurements over a period of time, right? So a
Yeah.
linguist would look at sources of data like books and articles and
Mm.
websites and whatever sources they could. So for GPT, the Chat GPT.
Yeah.
So when they talk about how there are different kinds of models, there are some small models, and then there are some really big models, and there are models that are used for certain kinds of things.
Mm.
So a chatbot that you're talking to for fun, right? They have these general purpose chatbots might be trained or have in their data set um, examples from the internet, from the websites, and from places where people talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
An academic data set is one that doesn't have any of that, only has, you know, academic journals, academic
Mm.
texts, newspapers, and kind of like scholarly sources, right?
Mm.
So the academic word list uh, is the kind of the like there are many word lists. There's the general service list. There's the Oxford 5000. There's the Cambridge word list, the C1 to A1 to C4, right?
Mm.
So this is just one kind of word list. Um, and it's got 570 words in it.
Mm.
And then you can kind of study patterns, right? So perhaps you already know the meanings of most, if not all, of these words. If
Mm.
that's the case, we have a big quiz on this page here. Starting on page number 35,
Mm.
there's a 99 question quiz here. So if we look here, the close study of something, right?
Mm.
This is like a general definition. On this side, you have 6 words, right?
Yeah.
What is the best possible match for this word here, of this definition here? Looking at these words here.
Is
It's this one.
principal
It's this one.
analysis.
Analysis, yeah. Top the annotation. Let's go to analysis. And now you can use this book. Type into
Mm.
the search up
Yeah.
here, analysis, and it comes up
Mm.
many, many times. But we'll find it in our definition here. The process of examining some and studying something in detail, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And then we see also connected to data, data analysis.
Mm.
Connected to statistics, numerical or facts used for analysis.
Mm.
There it is in the alphabetical. Analysis. So analysis is one of the most frequently used words. Okay.
Mm.
So we have the alphabetical list here. We have the list of words grouped by category.
Mm.
And analysis is probably a noun. Analysis. It's used as a noun, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't they made the decision, instead of making this list 5,000 words long or 10,000 words long or whatever, right? For the
Mm.
in the dictionary, if we look up analysis, right?
Yeah.
It tells us that it's a noun. It doesn't tell us, well, here.
Mm.
If we go analyze, right? We
Yeah.
have
And
we
yes.
have an entry for analyze, and
Yeah.
analyzing, or these two are the same entry. That's the
Yeah.
American spelling. There's
Mm.
another entry. So we have one entry, two
Mm.
entries,
Yeah.
three entries. See how it
Mm.
has different spellings, right?
Yeah.
So just don't pay attention to that. Just the one entry is the verb, right? I don't know what that
Mm.
is. I don't know what that is. That's not a word.
Yeah.
But this is the the base form, because it's the shortest form of the word and it's used as a
Mm.
verb, right? And this
Yeah.
is just the participle.
Mm.
This is the present continuous version of it, right? It belongs
Mm.
to this entry here. One entry.
Yeah.
One entry. One entry. A second entry, used as a noun for somebody who does the analysis. Okay.
Mm.
Third entry, the noun talking about the concept. This is the verb here, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And then and the concept behind this is to study something carefully, and this is
Mm.
the noun, and the concept is kind of the um, well, it's just it's how the word is used as a noun.
Mm.
Another entry. So this is like four entries connected to this idea of to study something carefully. Here's the
Mm.
adjective. Here's the adverb,
Yeah.
and two adjectives, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Analytic thinking and analytical thinking. I think they're the same thing. Relating to using analysis and logical reasoning, and relating to using. So it's the same thing, right? So we
Mm.
can see that the dictionary is huge, right?
Mm. Yeah.
The dictionary probably contains like 10,000 words. And this list only contains 500 words, right?
Mm.
So they're talking about the head word.
Yeah.
The dictionary has a head word for every kind of derivative, right?
Mm. Yeah.
We have head words according to this list, and then we
Mm.
have the base form, which is the shortest version,
Yeah.
the smallest version, and their derivatives. Okay?
Mm. Yeah.
So, um, I know that your focus isn't on vocabulary right now. Your focus is mostly on speaking, right?
Yeah.
But I thought this would be a good bit of homework for you, just to keep you busy on something, right?
Mm.
This is
Okay.
something I give to all the IELTS students, anyways. I think it's a prerequisite.
Mm.
And the reason I think that is because that's what I was trained to do. So,
Mm.
yeah, when you're studying this document,
Mm.
it kind of explains itself in the introduction, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question here: what would you recommend to somebody who's studying English,
Um.
wanting to study English seriously? Like, what would you recommend to your peers or your classmates? How do you go about improving your English knowledge, what are some things that you do? How do you spend your time learning English?
I have a book.
Okay.
I have a book about Elseworlds.
Okay.
You know, in China, the Chinese system, education system, about English includes 那个3500 words,
Okay.
but else includes 80,800 words. Yeah.
Starting with 800 and then going to 3500, right?
Yeah.
So the level 1 is 800 and level 2 is 3500.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this book kind of just guides you through it then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a smart way to go about it. So I recommend you become familiar with your Apple Dictionary. Where is my Apple Dictionary here? There it is, right? Your Apple Dictionary. I use it for Chinese quite a bit. When we look into the dictionary, come back. Independent, right? The structure of the word. This on this page here, it shows us the structure of the dictionary entry, right?
Yeah.
This is what a dictionary entry looks like. So, you have the head word, and again, the head word may or may not be the base form. The base form, we go down to the origin down here, and it says it's used as an adjective.
Friend.
Independent. Anyway, so it doesn't tell us much about its origin other than it's a French word, right? But actually, there it is. Okay, actually, well, here is kind of the base form, right?
Yeah, basically.
So it tells us that actually the very root word is this thing here. And then it has a prefix before it, right?
Yeah.
So to depend is to hang down. And you can think of it as a metaphor in your mind. A baby is dependent, right?
Yeah.
Or in mathematics and logic, you have a hierarchy of concepts. So like, anyway, a baby is dependent on its mother. The baby is the child of the mother. The baby doesn't survive without the mother, right? So a lot of like lower level concepts are derived or dependent upon higher level concepts. So in the Greek language and in the Latin language, they use the prefixes, and there's like a list of them. And they alter the meaning. So the prefix alters the meaning before the root word, right? And you can add successive prefixes. So the root word of depend is pendre, and I don't think such a word exists in English, but it probably exists in French, right? Or suspense, dependre, pondre. I need to learn Latin one of these days. Anyway, pondre means to hang, and then de means down.
Yeah.
Anyway, and we can keep finding more relationships. So this pendant is connected to this Latin root word here as well. A pendant is something that hangs on your neck. It's like a necklace, right?
Necklace.
Yeah. A necklace is something that hangs on your neck. So this concept of hanging is used in this word here. And then if we add the prefix, it becomes like a verb. And we add another prefix, independent, right? We can look at D and then put a dash. And then we get the prefix here. D means down or away. And in, with the dash, look for it here. Not the preposition, we want the prefix. Prefix, come on. There it is, right? It means not. Or without. Sometimes it means in. Okay? Why does English have so many different meanings? Because it's different languages, right? It's French, it's Latin, it's Old English, um, it's Greek, right?
mm,
It shows you the pronunciation, how to read the word. It might give you a way to play the sound and hear it.
mm,
Then it gives you what they call the phonemic transcription,
mm,
right? Then they
mm,
give you definition one, and there may be more definitions, synonyms, and the
mm,
word origin. Again, the Oxford Dictionary is really great because, well, there's nothing else better than it uh, for Mac, I think.
mm,
So yeah, study the terms carefully and understand how they have evolved over time. Using mind maps as as a way of making an association to a concept. So if I ask you a speaking test question like, "Tell me about the kind of clothing that you like to wear," right?
mm,
Well, then in your mind, maybe you could start with the concept of clothing,
yeah,
and then you could go to the concept of seasons and weather, cold and warm seasons. And then with
mm,
warm seasons, then it's t-shirt, shorts, and sandals.
mm,
And then in the cold season, it's jacket, hat, and sweaters,
mm,
right? And there,
yeah,
from that, making that kind of association, making that kind of a connection, you say, ah, well, the kinds of clothing I wear vary from season to season, right? In the warm weather,
mm,
I wear t-shirts, shorts, and sandals. But in the cooler seasons, I wear my jacket, sweater, and hat, right?
mm,
So if you're a visual thinker, some people are visual thinkers, right? I think maybe we all are, but you might want to like outline your answer using this kind of visual concept.
mm,
So yeah, actually, like if I'm planning a lesson or if I'm planning an essay,
mm,
I might I might do this, right?
yeah,
Um, what I'll typically do is I'll do an outline instead. I'll start with the high level concept, and then I'll work my way down.
mm,
So you could uh, you could go visually with the concept in the center and work your way out,
mm,
or you could start with a list and have the highest concept at the top, and then make indented lists, like list one, like number one, and then 1.1,
yeah,
1.2, 1.3, 1.3.1, or whatever, right? That's
mm,
another way of getting
mm,
your ideas down on paper so that you can see them with your eyes and then make those associations.
mm, yeah,
So the first section of this document is giving you some suggestions on how to approach studying vocabulary. And I think the
mm,
most important thing, you mentioned that you use a course book. Consider using lists, consider using mind maps, consider using an electronic translator and bilingual dictionary. So
mm,
are you using any kind of translation program or device? I know some students have this pen that can scan text and give you translations that way. Is that something that you would have you used that in the past, or you just use books?
um, uh, I already use a app
Mm-hmm.
called Baidu
Baidu
Translation
Translation. Okay,
app.
great.
Yeah.
Great. So Baidu Translation, I use the Apple Dictionary as much as
Mm,
possible.